Is it 2021?
Yeah.
Are we back?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And we're starting the year off right with questions that you asked us.
Yeah! You sent us questions on Ask FM, and it wasn't a total shit show. So thank you for proving my inner teenager wrong.
Only
I
like
appreciate that.
5 people were creepy. Only like 5 people.
So one was like, show me your body. I'm
Exactly, yeah.
like, you haven't seen my body.
No, whose body? My body?
Yeah.
You don't want to see my body.
You don't want to see my body.
But actually, the first question we have to answer is actually one that wasn't asked on Ask FM.
Yeah.
My good buddy asked us.
Oh, you said we're allowed to say his name now?
No, I'm gonna bleep it out. The question he asked us was, how do you get in character? Well, how do you get into the, like, how do you embody a character? What's your process,
Get
Sam?
my mindset.
Yeah. You ever given this thought, like, legitimately? Because, like, I actually have a bit of a process in terms of getting into character.
I haven't acted in a really long time. And theater school, for those of you who don't know, is a hell of a time. And you're young, and you're learning, and you don't know how to do everything yet. So
Because you're in school.
a lot of my process, like when I was doing the most acting work, which was in university, was like, it was informed by like trying to one-up the people around me, which is not good motivation, which is not good practice.
That's a good like indicator.
There was a lot of excess going on in my head that just like didn't allow me to focus on the craft.
Yeah.
And I've actually been doing a lot of work so that when I do eventually act again, maybe I can be a little better.
I actually, to be honest with you, Sam, I didn't know that so much of your energy in school was motivated like via conflict.
Yeah, like conflict is a tough word because I didn't like fight anybody.
No,
or I wasn't
of
like
course
I
not.
wasn't in conflict with a lot of people in school.
You're in conflict with yourself.
Well, I was in competition is a better word for it.
Oh, there you go.
There were definitely people who I felt like were better than me, and then like in my own head, I was like, they're trying to one up me. You know, like I was inventing conspiracy theories in my fucking head, and
You were the vixen.
no, Nina Bonina.
That's right.
Yeah.
We watched Drag Race, in case you didn't know. Like
But
everybody else in the world.
I was inventing conspiracies in my head, and it was messing me up and affecting my performance abilities. And I'd like to think that I've grown since then. A lot of it was like on stage. I'd like be on stage and I'd be like, well, this person's like giving a really good performance, so I better give a better performance.
It's time to act!
I'd better act. But I would say like the basis for getting into character, to answer the question actually, is
That's right, the question.
is empathy. Like
Right.
you have to do the work, and which is such an actor question. You know, getting into character is just doing the work. It's just you gotta do the work.
You have to read the script, you gotta do the work,
And you can't forget about the process.
you gotta find your breath.
Yeah.
That's my favorite one. You gotta find your breath.
and you know, learn the process.
Yeah.
And get into the craft. That's such an actor answer. But when it comes to getting into character, I wanna really like do the dramaturgical work and learn about, you know, whatever time period the person was in, what's expected of the character at the time, and then how sort of like outside influences would affect how they would behave, you know?
Right.
How does receiving a text message affect this character, and like how they would react? Because everybody treats text messages differently. Some people hate getting text messages. Some people, it makes them anxious. Does it make her anxious? Yes, no, and then act accordingly.
Right.
Sort of thing.
How characters react to their world.
Yeah. So like you have to think about how different things make people feel.
Right.
Or different things make different people feel, and sort of build from there.
Right. For me, like my process is a bit more concrete, actually.
Yeah.
I'm really based. I like to base all of my performances on the text specifically. Like
Yeah.
I'm quite textual.
Yeah.
What I'll do is I'll comb through the text for everything my character says about themselves.
Yeah.
And then what every other character says about my character.
Yeah.
And what that usually does is gives you 2 realities, which is what it's called a bunch of things, but I call it 2 realities. The reality of which the character perceives themselves, and the reality of which other characters perceive your character. And from then, you develop a personality. But for voice acting, what really helps me, because typically in voice acting, you're playing like an animal or a character or a monster or something, right? Is to picture the lungs of the character I know it's kind of weird to say, but if you picture like a giant or like an ogre or something, right? They're gonna have these big lungs, and the rest of the body has to accommodate, right? So you got like the big lungs and the spine and shoulders, and it gets them this great posture, and you might get a voice like, you know,
Right,
like
right.
it influences the voice, right?
That's a good way of thinking about it, actually.
I do that for all of my characters, stage or otherwise, actually.
You think about like how somebody's vocal patterns creates different rhythms of expanding and deflating for lungs. So like, if somebody's really high pitched, then the lungs are probably deflating a lot more, and like the lungs are doing this, whereas like a deep voice is probably a little bit slower as it's doing this. So if you can picture that, then you can like...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's basically like, and with all that, something that I think my school self would be surprised if I can go back 4 years is how much I think about the physicality.
Yeah.
When I was in school, I thought all of that was nonsense, and I just kind of thought like, this is all rainbow unicorn theater, and like, oh, feel the color purple. And like, admittingly, it was some of that.
Yeah, acting classes are so tough for that, because some of it gets very woo-woo.
Yeah.
And some of it, but like, it's understandably so in some cases, because you're trying to describe feelings and things that are very untangible. So it makes sense that sometimes teachers get a little metaphysical, but some of them take it too far.
Well, so much of acting is just feeling, right? It's really weird to say that out loud, and it sounds frou-frou and like non-specific, but it really is.
Yeah.
You have to understand how to feel to be an actor.
But it's sort of a breeding
one, anyway.
It's sort of a breeding ground for like crystal heads to come in and be like,
exactly.
like just walk around the room and picture a beam of light coming out of your chest, and it's like,
get together with a partner and slough with each other. Just slough it up and down.
That helps.
And also buy my crystals.
Exactly.
Thank you for asking that question.
I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Next question. What is the best way to tell someone that you love them? That's a good one.
I want to be conscious of this one because I know that we have some young followers.
Yes, so maybe some young and infatuated followers.
Yeah, and love is a powerful term.
Yes.
So there's kind of like two answers to this. If you are into somebody, like you have a crush on someone and you just want to tell someone that you like them, like you just want to tell someone that you are into them, the best way to do it is to tell them. And I used to hate this answer when people would give it to me when I was young, because I'm like, that involves risk. That involves a high probability of rejection. That involves being extremely vulnerable, which are all things that I don't like. But it's the only way to get it across. I would say set aside some time. Don't spring it on somebody. Like, don't, if you're like having a deep conversation, you find a quiet moment, maybe say like, hey, like I have something I need to tell you. Like, I've been feeling this way for a little while now, and like, I like you. Yeah. You know, that's a good way to do it. And if you are dating somebody right now and you feel like you want to say that you love them, you will know. And I know that that's not the answer that people love, but when you are in that moment, you will know. Yeah. You do.
The only thing I'd like to sort of reiterate / add on to what you just said is to really hammer home the fact that if you aren't in a relationship with somebody and you're crushing on them or infatuated with them, you're not in love with them. No. I'm sorry. I know that's not a very, that's not the most fun answer coming from me. Yeah. But let me make myself perfectly clear.
We're straight shooters here at Chill Spot.
you'll save yourself a lot of heartache if you can just acknowledge the fact that you're not in love with this person. Yeah. You don't even know who they are yet.
As someone who has celebrity crushes,
but listen, you are constantly infatuated.
It's like, it can be fun. It's not a bad thing to be infatuated with someone as long as you know, as long as you understand that it's not love, that it's got some biases attached to it that are affecting things, and it's different than love.
It's a different state of intense emotion.
Don't feel bad for being infatuated. Don't feel bad for having a crush on somebody, because it's not a bad thing. No. It is just as natural as love.
Yeah, sure.
It is.
You spent 5 whole minutes yesterday watching Drag Race telling me how badly you want to fuck Naomi Smalls.
Hardcore!
In and out of drag, you said.
Any scenario. Who's
gay, by the way.
If Naomi Smalls, listen.
The concrete Chill Spot answer for what is the best way to tell someone you love them is to be in a relationship and then really be sure that goes both ways.
Yeah.
And not to get discouraged if you, well, let me finish. Not to get discouraged if you say it and they don't. Sometimes you say it too early. Sometimes it doesn't get said at all. But that's relationships for you.
Yeah.
Things are going to change and things are going to grow no matter what.
Yeah.
So just keep trucking along.
Yeah.
Would be our answer.
Next question. How bad do you want to fuck Cam's friend Brad? Sent by not Cam's friend Brad.
Well, I fucked Brad last week.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Next question.
Do you think crying is a sign of weakness or strength?
I don't think it's either.
I think crying is human.
Yeah. I don't think crying is a sign of weakness or strength.
I think assigning it to weakness and or strength is bullshit, and I think that it's a dumb thing that humans made up again, and it doesn't fucking matter. We've been crying since the dawn of time.
I think crying is a sign of healing. I think that crying, when you cry, you're acknowledging that you're feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And that when you're overwhelmed and you acknowledge it, that's the first step to feeling better.
Yeah.
And when you start, every time you cry, that's that feeling leaving your body. It's very healthy to cry, in my opinion.
So I guess we are saying that it is kind of a sign of strength.
Yes and no. I mean, I really don't, I wouldn't associate it with that word. I seriously, healing is the word I would use. And obviously, like, it's different for everybody. There are people who cry too much. There are people who refuse to cry, and that's the whole thing because of the social structures you just said. But yeah, I don't assign it with weakness or strength. I think crying, like you just said, is very natural. It's like when you get cut, you bleed.
Yeah.
And then you put a Band-Aid on it once it stops bleeding. When you're sad, you cry.
Yeah.
And you wipe your eyes and feel like you just took a massive shit or something.
Yeah.
Like you just feel better.
Yeah.
Your pants fit a little bit better.
Have you ever taken a shit that feels like glass shards are coming out of your asshole? The best band on the planet is Fall Out Boy.
Yeah, that's easy for you.
It's Fall Out Boy.
I don't listen to a lot of bands.
I guess you don't.
Well, I mean, I'm not like a huge fan of a lot of bands, you know? Like I listen to bands, obviously, if I can listen to music, but like I listen to a lot of solo artists. I guess the band I was most recently being like 3 years ago, was the Alabama Shakes.
Oh, okay,
Got really into the Alabama Shakes.
They're really good.
And they are really good. I still love their music.
They're fantastic.
So I guess that would be my answer, because I don't really have another one.
Yeah, no, I've been a Fall Out Boy fan for like more than 10 years at this point. They're the best band on
Easy
the planet.
peasy, lemon squeezy.
Peasy. Hey, this is Norway Kratos. Hey, Norway Kratos.
Thanks for chiming in, bud.
Can I ask you, do you like cooking?
Oh, well, I love cooking.
Yeah.
And then I imagine you probably followed up with,
why do you like cooking?
I'll start this off, I guess. I love cooking because cooking is rewarding. To be really good at cooking, it demands a lot of precision and a lot of care. That's my two favorite things about cooking. Is that I know. Listen, this is gonna be, we're talking about frou-frou answers. Talking about acting. This is a frou-frou answer for you. Cooking gets better when you put love into it, and that means dedicating yourself to cooking. Like a lot of people I know, no naming names, will cook something and then walk out of the room and like watch TV and blah blah blah. And it's like, when you do that and you come back and something's wrong with your dish, it's well because there's a 30-second window when something got fucked up that you weren't there for. Whereas if you literally dedicate yourself to cooking, like when I cook, you could attest to this. I am in the kitchen, and then when I am done cooking is when I leave the kitchen. And I take it probably a little too seriously.
Whenever he's in charge of dinner for the night, I like get a little upset because he has to leave me. And it's like,
but you're not upset when I place that dish in front of you.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm really not.
So I love cooking because it's rewarding and it demands me to be better at it.
Yeah.
And I'm always trying to get better at it. And I really, really love that.
I like cooking. I'm not as passionate about it as you are, but I do enjoy cooking, actually.
Yeah.
I've taken up cooking a little bit in my house, like at home, for my mom, just because she's busy and like it just helps her out. And I've sort of taken up, like, you know, looking up a recipe and saying, hey mom, go get these ingredients. I'm gonna make this dish on, you know, Tuesday.
Yeah.
And it's nice. It's good to make something that you know is good. And cooking is just, and it also makes me feel adult, you know, like we both live at home, and it feels good to know that, like, while I live at home with my mommy still, it's not for lack of knowing how to survive and take care of myself.
Exactly. Yeah.
Knowing that I can make a good meal makes me feel accomplished.
We can move out tomorrow.
Good about myself.
That's the rewarding part that I was talking about.
Yeah.
There is literally nothing that feels better. Let me tell you this. Nothing that feels better than cooking something on your own. And like, you could use stuff out of jars. I'm not against that, but like really, like, challenge yourself to make something that you wouldn't normally make, like a sauce, like a reduction, like something like that.
Compote.
Exactly. And then place it all on the dish and then eat it. And let me tell you, even if it doesn't taste that great, the reward of having cooked this thing and then effort, you'll taste the effort, and that will be a transformative experience. Absolutely. I promise you that. Absolutely. I promise you that.
Absolutely. My foods teacher pointed this out to me when I took health and nutrition in high school. But she said that like one of the reasons why some people may enjoy cooking, and this really rang true for me, is it's primal. It's humans saying, I want you to survive.
Yes.
Here's sustenance.
All the best bonding happens around a kitchen table.
When we were apes, we used to like
last week.
We used to like 2 weeks ago when I was a hairy ape, we used to stand guard while the others ate, because that's when you're at your most vulnerable. Yeah. And
the walls go down.
Yeah, and there's just something so special about like providing that experience for somebody.
Absolutely.
It's really meaningful.
So thanks for that question.
Yeah, it's just important. When you are in love, does age matter?
Okay, let's put a stipulation on this. We are obviously not talking about adults and minors.
No.
That goes without saying, but I'm going to say it out loud. Age does matter if you are a minor.
Yeah.
Like, can we just set the record?
If you are 18 and under, age matters. It matters.
Being above that, I think it varies. I know lots of people with relationships that have a wide age gap, like 6 or more years.
Yeah.
And it works out.
Who are over 18.
Of course. Yeah, again, that's why I said that. And sometimes it works. Sometimes you just have the right personalities and the right maturity levels and the right understanding of each other's situation, and it works.
Yeah.
My biggest thing when it comes to age differences, straight up, is just power angles. You got to be careful of that. You gotta be careful of someone who's like 40, maybe making like 80K a year, like living on their own, dating someone who's in their 20s, like just out of university, like no major income. Like that's a disparity of power. Yeah. And you gotta be careful of that.
My whole thing about like dating somebody significantly older is like, are you like, maybe they're fine now, but are you prepared to like basically become that person's caretaker?
Yeah, that's a good point too.
You know, like
when you're 60, they'll be 80.
Yeah. I will say though, if you have a teen at the end of your age and you're dating a 20-year-old, I still think that even like 18, 19, there's a difference between 18 and 22.
If I make
there's such a difference.
If I make a comment about your partner and your response is like, well, but they're technically an adult. Like, think about that, right?
Why do you
shouldn't have to justify your relationship to me.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
That's an issue, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, that would sort of be our answers for that.
Yeah. What are some of your spiritual goals, if you would like to share them, of course?
Spiritual, I'm assuming they mean in terms of like religion or
whatever is in place of that.
Right, whatever. I'm not really in tune with my spirituality, to be honest with you. It's not something, I don't really meditate. I don't pray. I don't go to church or anything like that.
Let me, because like I picked this for a reason. Let me put it this way. What do you think would like feed your inner child? Think about your inner child that lives inside of you, like constantly. Because I think that everybody has one.
What would feed my inner child?
Yeah. What would feed your inner child this year?
I guess this is sort of an answer to that. I find, as you guys all know, I'm into voice acting now. I've been auditioning to do professional gigs for the better part of a few months now. And I realized that while doing that, it doesn't feel like work. And I'm genuinely enjoying doing the auditioning. We'll see what happens when I start landing gigs and it, being in a recording scenario. We'll see where that changes. But finding voices, getting it right, and listening to something and being confident that I know this sounds good, has been a very rewarding experience and not something I typically reward myself ever.
Cool.
Because I usually, I tend to struggle with a lot of self-acceptance that like I know what I'm doing when it comes to the things that I do.
Right.
But something concrete like putting a voice into a microphone, editing it on Audacity, and then coming out with a strong MP3 has just been nice. It's been rewarding. So I guess I would want to keep on that track.
Right.
That would feed my inner child a little
I
bit.
want to like gain more or run with that confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be more confident, I
Yeah.
guess, is a way.
Yeah.
That
I
would
like
kind
that.
of feed my inner child a little bit.
I like that. My spiritual goal that would feed my spirit for this year would be to be more silly and be more vulnerable.
There you go.
I can be a very serious person, and I even take being silly seriously. I found a way to do it last year, you know, like, and it's just I wouldn't want to do anything that would make me feel ridiculous. It's weird. I had a childhood friend who, whenever I would do something, whenever I would mess up, or whenever I would do something not serious, they would laugh at me and make fun of me. And
but not in a reciprocal way, like not in like a way that you're not in on the joke.
No.
Okay.
And I thought that maybe I was in on the joke, but after doing some reflecting, like I really wasn't in on the joke.
Right.
And I realized that laughing at me was in my head every time I did something silly or ridiculous. And now that I've sort of like honed in on that, I want to try and ignore it and do more things that will bring me joy. I've mentioned it before, but I came across a text post on Tumblr that said, I have to be silly once a day, otherwise my brain will grow mold. And I think I've allowed my brain to grow mold in a way. And I want to try and like dust some of that off and do some things that I think would make that friend laugh at me now. I don't think I've said this online. I want to get into roller skating. I saw some roller skaters on Instagram, and I've always thought that it looks so cool.
Right.
You know, you can do like not roller derby, roller skating, like
rink skating. Yeah.
Yeah, and like dance, like doing dance moves and stuff like that. And it's something that person would laugh at me for being into, because anytime I showed interest in anything, they laughed at me. And
so they're not really your friend.
No, it's one of those things where like you're friends when you're kids, and then as you grow up and start like having a personality, you realize that you're different people.
Right.
But I realized it too late, and we were like growing apart. That's why they were laughing at me every time that I tried to do something, because we were different people.
You know, people like that rarely have interests. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Because they're so insecure about their lack of a personality
dude.
that they try to keep others around them on their level.
Yeah.
That's why she was doing that to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me. It's going to be, for me, it's something totally selfish, you know? Like 100% feeds me and my soul. And I don't give myself that a lot. So I want to do that.
Good for you,
I want to
Sam.
do that for myself.
That's a good answer. That will feed your spirituality and your inner child.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
What's the last question for the video?
What's special about you?
What's special about me?
And I really want us to answer it for ourselves. I don't want to help each other. I don't want to be like, well, I'll say something that I think is special about you. Like, really look within yourself and try and like name it.
It's gonna sound negative, but it's not. Let me finish. I'm stubborn to a fault, but I can be stubborn in a good way as well. Being stubborn built this room. Being stubborn figured out how to make these lights work properly, right?
You did. You were standing here and you were like, Sam, God damn it, this is a puzzle, but I'm gonna figure it out.
I'm very much like that. When it comes to video games, I'm the same way too.
And I was like sitting in a chair, like texting Toby and like, and just being like, okay.
Yeah, all right, dear.
Sure thing, love.
Yeah.
And you did.
But, well, I mean, we'll see, obviously. But, that's sort of me to my core. I will give myself a little bit of credit. I like to think that I'm a quick learner. So long as, like, the instructions are clear. Like, I have no problem reading instructions. But even if they're not clear, ability to persevere and the stubbornness to do anything but figure this out is what makes me special, I would say.
I like that about you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. I work very hard to ensure that the hardships that I've endured, I don't, I try and make sure that none of my loved ones ever have to like feel that way.
You're not a I've suffered so you have to suffer.
Yeah.
You're a I've suffered so no one should kind of person.
And I just like take it and I turn it into kindness, and I really do spread it around. I have said before, like, something that I do like about myself is that if I have a bad day, I will then turn around and do like the most kind thing that I can possibly do if I can help it.
You don't shunt your negative feelings onto other people.
If I've had a bad day, I have no problem. And if anything, it makes me feel better to turn around and help somebody else. If I come home and I've had like a shit day at work, and you know, mom is like, oh man, I have to get groceries for grandma, and I have to do this and I have to do that.
I really need a foot massage.
I'll say, hey, let me pick some of this up for you then.
Right.
Let me, you know, let me do some cleaning that you want to get done. Let me, you know, I'll go grocery shopping for grandma, and I'll take it to her house and I'll hang out with her for a little bit. And, you know, I'll get stuck at grandma's house for 2 hours while she complains about all the stuff that she complains about. And it helps me remember that there is good in the world.
Totally.
Even if it's coming from me, I like to say, like, this ends with me, you know, this, like, I may have experienced negativity and harshness and meanness, but it's going to end with me. You know, if 2 people are mean to me, but then I turn around and do 3 nice things, then there's officially more kindness in the world than there is horribleness. And if we all do that, the world will be a better place.
Yes.
500%.
And
I do believe that.
Well, listen, everyone, thank you so much for submitting your questions. We only got through about 10 of them. There's about 20 to go.
Yeah, we'll keep hunkering through them.
So we'll be sure to do another Q&A video in the future. We'll give you a break for a little while, of course. But we want to thank you all for watching us last year, and we are very much looking forward to this year. Lots of cool, exciting stuff on the way.
This is a great start, and like obviously one of our favorite things to do is talk to y'all. So thank you so much for giving us that opportunity and asking us questions and participating. It really means a lot.
Absolutely. And we'll see you guys next week.
Mwah! Love you.
Bye.